You probably spent time alone today. Maybe you ate lunch by yourself. Maybe you scrolled through your phone in a room full of people. Maybe you went home to an empty apartment, turned on the TV, and fell asleep to voices that weren't talking to you. And none of that felt like an emergency. It just felt like a Tuesday. But here's what's actually happening inside your body when you're chronically alone. And the real answer is far stranger and far darker than you've ever been told. Because loneliness isn't a feeling, it's a biological alarm system. And right now, for a record number of people, that alarm has been ringing so long that the body has started to break down trying to answer it. Let's go back to the beginning. For roughly 99% of human history, being alone didn't just mean being lonely, it meant being dead. Your earliest ancestors didn't survive the African savanna because they were strong or fast. They survived because they stayed together. The group hunted together, warned each other about predators, shared food, shared warmth, raised children collectively. Separation from the group wasn't a lifestyle choice, it was a death sentence. Your brain learned this deeply, at the level of survival wiring that doesn't care what century you're living in. Evolutionary psychologist John Cacioppo spent decades studying loneliness at the University of Chicago, and what he found rewrote what scientists thought they knew about social connection. Cacioppo discovered that loneliness doesn't just affect your mood, it rewires your nervous system, it changes how your genes express themselves, it accelerates aging at the cellular level, and it kills people at a rate that should be front-page news every single day. Here's the number that stops most people cold. Chronic loneliness increases your risk of early death by 26%. That's not a rounding error. That's more than obesity. It's comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Your body, cut off from genuine social connection, begins a slow and measurable deterioration, not because you're sad, but because your biology is running an ancient program that says, you are alone. Therefore, you are in danger. Therefore, your body must prepare for the worst. What does that preparation actually look like? Your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the stress response system deep inside your brain, shifts into a state of low-grade chronic activation. Cortisol, the stress hormone, stops rising and falling in its normal rhythm and starts pooling at elevated levels around the clock. Your immune system, which should be a clean, targeted defense system, becomes scattered and inflammatory. It starts attacking the wrong things. It starts attacking you. Researcher Steve Cole at UCLA took this further. Cole looked at the actual gene expression of lonely people versus connected people and found something remarkable. In people experiencing chronic loneliness, the genes responsible for inflammatory response were dialing up, and the genes responsible for antiviral defenses were dialing down. Lonely people weren't just sad. They were biologically more vulnerable to illness, to infection, and to the slow, invisible damage of systemic inflammation. That inflammation is what connects loneliness to heart disease, to stroke, to cognitive decline. It's not metaphorical. Your heart is literally under more strain when you're chronically disconnected. The same inflammatory cascade that loneliness triggers is the same one that coats the inside of your arteries with plaque. So why hasn't evolution fixed this? Why does your brain still run this ancient alarm system when the consequences are so clearly harmful? Because the alarm isn't the problem. The alarm is the solution, or at least it was designed to be. Think about physical pain for a second. Pain is not your body failing you. Pain is your body communicating urgency. Touch fire. Your hand pulls back. Break a bone. You stop putting weight on it. Pain motivates you to fix the problem. Loneliness works exactly the same way. The discomfort, the hypervigilance, the restlessness you feel when you're isolated. That's not a malfunction. That's a signal with a very clear evolutionary instruction attached to it. Go find your people. Cacioppo called this the social pain hypothesis. And for most of human history, it worked. You felt alone. You sought connection. You found it. The alarm quieted. The system reset. But something broke. Because here's the thing about modern loneliness. It's not the same as ancient aloneness. The ancient human who got separated from the group had a clear problem with a clear solution. Walk back to camp. Reconnect. Done. Modern loneliness is different. Modern loneliness is surrounded by people and still fundamentally disconnected. It's having 400 followers and no one to call. It's sitting in a meeting for 6 hours without once feeling like anyone sees you. It's scrolling through photos of other people's lives, feeling further away from humanity with every swipe. And here's what makes this so insidious. Cacioppo's research showed that loneliness creates a self-reinforcing trap. When you're lonely, your brain doesn't just feel sad, it shifts into a threat detection mode. Suddenly, you start reading neutral faces as hostile. You start interpreting ambiguous social cues as rejections. A friend who doesn't reply quickly becomes someone who doesn't care. A party where no one talks to you first becomes proof that you don't belong. Your brain is trying to protect you. It's scanning the environment for threats because the alarm is still ringing. And if you're alone in a dangerous world, you need to spot danger fast. But in the modern context, that protective hypervigilance makes connection harder, not easier. It makes you withdraw. It makes you critical. It makes other people feel the distance you're trying to close. This is how loneliness spreads. And it does spread. University of California, San Diego researcher James Fowler and Harvard social scientist Nicholas Christakis studied social network data and found that loneliness is contagious in the same way happiness is contagious. Lonely people at the edges of social networks make the people just inside the network slightly lonelier, who in turn affect the next ring outward. Loneliness ripples through communities like a slow tide, and the people at the shore, the most isolated, are constantly losing ground. There's a number the UK government published that tells you how serious this has become. In 2018, the United Kingdom appointed a Minister for Loneliness, the first government position of its kind in the world. Not because loneliness is a personal problem, because public health researchers had started presenting data showing that loneliness was costing the country billions in healthcare costs, lost productivity, and early mortality. An emotion your ancestors felt when separated from their tribe had become a public health epidemic. And that was before the pandemic turned the isolation dial to 11. Now here's where this becomes personal, because you might be thinking, I have people, I have friends, I have family, I don't consider myself lonely. But there's a distinction that almost everyone gets wrong. Loneliness is not about quantity, it's about quality of connection. You can be surrounded by people and be profoundly lonely. You can have two close friends and feel completely seen. The metric isn't how many people you're near. The metric is whether the people around you actually know you, whether you feel at a deep level that you belong somewhere, that you matter to someone, that you are not fundamentally alone in your experience of being alive. Researcher Julianne Holt-Lunstad at Brigham Young University meta-analyzed data from 148 studies covering more than 300,000 people across the world. Her conclusion: social connection, not social media connection, not acquaintances, but real felt belonging, was one of the single strongest predictors of survival across every age group. More predictive than exercise, more predictive than diet. Your social life is, quite literally, a health intervention. So what do you do with this? The research doesn't ask you to become a different person. It doesn't ask you to be more extroverted or more social in the way that culture currently sells it. It asks for something smaller and far more ancient. One real conversation, not a broadcast. A conversation where you listen as much as you talk, where you share something true instead of something curated, where the other person finishes speaking, and you feel, even for a moment, slightly less alone in the world. That's the signal your biology is sending, stripped of all its modern noise. Not go to more parties, not get more followers, not optimize your social calendar. Just find your people, stay close, let them know you, because tonight you might be alone in your apartment, scrolling through other people's highlights, feeling like something is missing, but not quite knowing what. And now you know exactly what it is. It's the same thing your ancestors felt the moment they got separated from the group on the savannah. It's the oldest alarm in the human body, and it's been ringing for you this whole time.